Hey everyone, Joe's Fishing here. I hope y'all are having an awesome day. And today guys, I really want to go over the tackle that made me win the 2025 Ontario B.A.S.S Nation Championship on Georgian Bay on the famous Lake Huron. So I was using pretty much the whole weekend one rod in particular for catching most of my fish. So I'll go over that today. And I was using a technique called, on day one, a technique called the jig and minnow. So the jig and minnow is a very well-known technique for forward-facing sonar and a lot of that stuff. And personally, I was using it sometimes this weekend on forward-facing sonar, but most of my weekend, I fished the jig and minnow without any fish finder, without any live scope, nothing. And let me tell you something, this bait works also in other depths than in deep water. So if that gives you a hint, well, I hope you take it and you try using it. So I was using a 1/8 ounce jig head with a 4-inch minnow on it. The only thing that you really want to have in a jig and minnow setup is have a minnow, a plastic minnow that rolls on the side. That's the action that you want to have. So what I do is I cast the bait and then I just twitch the rod like that. I shake it like this, and the bait just darts from left to right, from left to right. And I was burning it pretty fast. So I was trying to get some aggressive fish, and it worked very well on day one. But arrived day two, and the fish started to be a bit more tricky to catch. So I used another technique called a Ned rig, and I was using a Ned rig with a skirt. The bait that I was using on the Ned rig was a flutter nymph by Fish Lab. And the reason why I think the bait really worked a lot was because the bait has a ton of action. It kicks a lot of water and it gets really triggering for the smallmouth because you have a lot of appendages, and at the end of all of these appendages there is paddle tails, smaller paddle tails, and what these do is they kick a lot of water and they move like absolutely crazy, and these smallmouth go absolutely ballistic on those. Like, they really love it. And I was fishing with the 2-inch and 3/4 size, so the smaller size that they do with the flutter nymph, just because I felt like the fish were feeling a bit more that pressure that I fished for them the day prior, and they started being a bit more tricky to catch. So I downsized my bait a lot, and I think that helped a ton to get those very, very key bites. As for the rod that really made it happen this weekend, it was a Okuma X Series bass rod in the 7-foot medium light power fast action, and I paired that with a Okuma X Series spinning reel on the 2500 size. And both of these combined with each other, it's a super light combo, super light, which means that there's no fatigue on the wrist. It's extremely sensitive, and I mean, the X Series bass rod, the sensitivity is unparalleled. I fished with multiple high-end rods, and let me tell you what, for the price point, very tough to beat. The Okuma stuff is very tough to beat for the price point. And I was using 10-pound test braid with a 6-pound leader. Georgian Bay, there's some ultra clear water, like the water you have sometimes above 20 feet of visibility, so you gotta have a line that is super thin in diameter. But above all else, if you have a smaller line in diameter, you're going to be able to get more action out of your bait. So when I was fishing that jig and minnow, that was super crucial. But most of the time when I was fishing my Ned rig, I was going up to 8-pound test fluorocarbon leader just to make sure that I had that extra abrasion resistance when I was just, you know, scratching it against the rocks and stuff like that. So yeah guys, that's the tackle that did it on this weekend on Georgian Bay. And if you guys learned something from this, please write it down in the comment section. If you have any other questions, I'll be glad to respond to them. So guys, if you go fishing this weekend, I hope you guys have an awesome fishing day. And guys, remember to fish relentlessly. And as always, folks, turn off the cell phone and enjoy the beautiful outdoors.